What's up everyone, it's Iceman Oz, aka Jay, back again with another video for you guys. Today we're going to be talking more about Battlefield 2018 and my predictions for the next Battlefield game. But before that, I do want to give a couple of promotions that have been happening recently. I'd like to thank you guys personally for 29,000 subscribers on the channel. That's absolutely awesome. And to mark the occasion, I've decided to make a Discord server. So if you want to check that out, I will leave a link down below in the description so you can check that one out. And also, I have the Patreon down there as well if you want to get moderator access and access to videos that are exclusive that you'll never see on YouTube. Along with early access to Battlefield videos that will be coming out in the future. You can get them early just by following on Patreon. You can, I believe you can log in using Facebook, so it's very easy to use. I encourage you guys to support me on there. But with all the promotions out of the way, the gameplay you're going to be seeing is some classic AEK 971 gameplay on No Shell Canals, kicking some butt. It was a good time as always, and we did really well in this game, me and my team, and it's really fun to go back and play Battlefield 3. I'm going to dedicate some specific videos just to playing Battlefield 3 coming up very soon on the channel. The AEK is an absolute beast. It was in Battlefield 4 and in Battlefield 3, and certainly it's just a super powerful gun and super fun to use. The very fast fire rate rewards gun skill, and that's definitely something I can appreciate. Without further ado though, let's get into the topic of today's video, and they are my predictions for the next Battlefield game. So, if you haven't seen some of my videos I made probably about a month or two ago, what I was talking about was the time setting that the next one is going to be in, and I provided very good evidence as to why Battlefield 2018 is going to be set in World War II. Yes, that's right, it's quite likely, I think it's common sense that it is going to be World War II. If not, it's going to be in a modern day setting. Either way, whether it's set in World War II or modern, I just hope for a clean, crisp gunplay that will be fun to play for years on top of years. If you've played Battlefield 1, you'll know that it dropped off super quickly. And a lot of people say to me, well, that's because of the lack of content. Well, if we go by that route, then Counter-Strike Global Offensive should have died about 4 years ago, so I don't think that's the case. I think quality wins out in the end, and if we have a really good gunplay, really good infantry gameplay, at the end of the day, people just want to shoot people in the face. So I think having a good core gunplay, a tight cone of fire within the gunplay is definitely important to a Battlefield title. We've seen it in Battlefield Bad Company 2, and we've seen it in Battlefield 3, and even in some aspects Battlefield Hardline, which by the way was a terrific game but was really undermined because it was released so shortly after Battlefield 4 and it had a lack of content compared to that one, right? So regarding my predictions, I've made a bit of a list here that I'm going to point out to you guys, and let me know in the comments section below if you've had some similar feelings or if I'm onto some things that you didn't even think about. First of all, I'm going to predict that there'll be core gameplay elements that are in Battlefront 2, and that will definitely exist in the new Battlefield game. What do I mean by that? Well, because Battlefront 2 is made by DICE, the same guys who made Battlefield, obviously, it's my prediction that a lot of the things that you see in Battlefront 2 are going to cross over to Battlefield 2018. Proof of this is back when Battlefront, the original one, came out. It looked a lot like Battlefield. There were some maps that looked exactly like the Battlefield maps. So all you Star Wars fans out there who also play Battlefield, you'll definitely notice some similarities between the games. And when Battlefront 2 comes out, you'll definitely get an aspect of what the next Battlefield's going to be. Because obviously they're developing both of the games, right? And really, you've noticed similarities between the titles, right? You've noticed Battlefield 1 and Battlefront, they all have those similarities, so it's definitely fair to say that Battlefront 2 is going to be very similar to Battlefield in terms of just the core gunplay, right? Definitely a fair prediction to make. I'm going to predict some obvious things, like it will be on the Frostbite engine. If you don't know, Battlefield is made on the Frostbite engine, and it's just been upgraded year after year after year. Now, from my knowledge, I think that they're just going to continue to use that, although a lot of people think that it's very clunky. If you've played Battlefield in the past, or even Battlefront, you'll notice that sometimes when you're running on the map, you'll just, you know, have issues climbing over stuff. It's really clunky just in terms of getting around the maps. Certainly that is true. It has been the truth in Battlefield 3, 4, you know, it has been, in, of course, Battlefront, as I've already mentioned. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can update the engine to a point where it won't be clunky. I don't think that's possible, because if it was possible, it would have been updated a long time ago. Now, this Battlefield game, this is just a fact. It has been in development for many years, so I think that it will be a decent title, but and the idea that they're going back to just making Battlefield games every 2 years is also a really good idea, because I've stated this in previous videos, but the reason that I believe Counter-Strike is so popular, the reason that Rainbow Six Siege is so popular, is because players have significant time to improve their skills without the new title being released. And what I mean by that is, like, when you play a game for just like a year, you don't really have the time to develop your skills to a really, really high level, right? Because the new game comes out and then you have to learn the maps all over again, the guns all over again, and it's really hard to find that attachment to the game, if you know what I mean. That's why Call of Duty has pretty much died. The reason is because people will play it, and then if they do it hardcore for maybe 6, 7, 8 months, they're probably pretty good players. But the problem is, by that point, the new one's already coming out. So people have pretty much just, you know, they've said, well, screw it. What's the point of getting good anyway? Because another one's just going to come out a couple of months later. So that's pretty much the reason why Call of Duty dropped off. And it's going to happen to Battlefield as well. It's going to, and it already has. That's why Battlefield 1 went down the toilet, is because of that. And it's a shame, really, but at the same time, it's obvious. It's obvious as to why, you know, Battlefield 1 dropped off. But for the next title, my prediction is that it will be a 2-year cycle again. So there will be a 2 or maybe even a 3-year gap where we can really dig into the game, get a bunch of new DLC for free. I think that DICE will start to go towards free DLC that we can, you know, just additional content that we can have as the game goes on. It keeps the game fresh and is necessary. If we've seen with Battlefield 1, I hate to go back to it constantly, I don't want to bash it, but we go back to that and we see how much the diversity in between the people who have premium and the people who don't have premium, and how it's really killed off the game in terms of that fresh new content. Now, going back to the previous point about the time setting, I think that because, you know, it is either going to be World War II or modern, I want to make a blanket statement, and I could definitely be wrong, but I think there is something to be said here. Now, if it's a World War II game, I think that the maps will generally be larger, more open fields, along with, obviously, like trenches and stuff. You'll have those tight corridors, but for the most part, you'll see very open fields like you've seen in Battlefield 1. Compared to a modern setting, you're obviously going to have a lot of buildings, so there's a lot more coverage, and there's also a lot more tighter corridors. If you remember playing Battlefield 3, they'll definitely go down that route. So if you're into that funneling type of gunplay, I think that the modern way to go would be better, and I wouldn't be against a modern Battlefield at this point. I think that would be really cool, and my prediction is they're either going to go down that route or World War II. I'm starting to think the World War theme in shooters is a bit oversaturated. A couple of years ago, there was a need for these World War games, and what happened was, by the way, I think I just bumped my microphone. I'm sorry for that unprofessionalism. But a couple of years ago, there was this need for a bunch of World War shooters, right? Because there wasn't really that many on the next gen, which is now the current gen, the PS4, the Xbox. I think there's just a lot of them coming out now. We've seen with Battalion, obviously the new Call of Duty coming out, World War II, Battlefield 1. We've seen these World War games come out. So going back to modern, I think wouldn't be a terrible idea. I think it would be a lot of fun trying to get, you know, let's think about something for a minute. What made Battlefield so popular in the first place? Well, I'm going to play historian for a minute and let you know. Battlefield 3 was the game that really blew up the series. It really was what made Battlefield stand out from Call of Duty, because It had all the core elements that people loved about Call of Duty: crisp gunplay, really fun maps, tight corridors, and, you know, there was years to learn the game, and it gained popularity over time because of that. And to be honest, I think that's really what DICE is going to repeat with this new Battlefield title. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. All my social media down below in the description to check out, and Patreon is there as well, like I mentioned at the start. And again, like I mentioned at the start, be sure to follow that Discord because it's lit AF, okay? It is absolutely lit, and I encourage you guys to check that out. But with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like, share, subscribe, and peace.